told you already we don't do which of the following is true. We also don't do of the following. We don't need that. That's just extra words. We can just say which. We don't use not or except. These are what would be called negative stem questions. A negative stem question doesn't ask you what the correct answer is. It asks you which is an incorrect answer. And the reason we don't use it is because, for two reasons. One, it changes the candidate's thought process. If I'm a candidate, I'm in the test, I'm looking for the right answer, looking for the right answer, looking for the right answer, and the next one I'm looking for the wrong answer. And the first answer choice is right, I think that's the answer, because my mind is set in this positive mode. The other reason we don't use it is because just because I know what's not true doesn't mean I know what is true. I know the color of the sky is not purple, but do I know that it's blue? Do you see what I mean? One does not lead to the other. So we want to make sure we don't use negative stems. We don't use except. We don't use always or never. One of the things a lot of these rules that we're talking about are set up for is because candidates become test wise. They take classes, they study how to take a test, and what we're trying to measure is their own knowledge and skill. We're not wanting to measure their test taking skill. So if we can get rid of anything that would be helping someone who had good test taking skills but not knowledgeable of the subject matter, we want to do it. And the reality is there are very few things in life that are always true and very few things that are never true. And a test-wise candidate will see those words and will say, ah, the item writer stuck that in to make sure this was a wrong answer. Do you see what I mean? Maybe on rare occasions that's true, so they put in never. And so that becomes a clue. We don't use pronouns, we don't use personal names, we don't use Dr. Smith, we use the sonographer. We don't have to worry about gender, anything else, just the sonographer. Okay, 4 choices. That's pretty straightforward. It's a little different if you're talking about the SIC items or the hotspot items. There are obviously more choices in those situations. In fact, in the hotspot item, when you think about it, it's actually to the pixel. The screen has so many pixels on it. Each pixel is a potential answer choice. So there are thousands of answer choices. Okay, the next thing is the key. The way we're going to do the process, we're going to look at the stem, and we're going to say, is this an important issue? Is this something you need to know to practice? Then we're going to look at the key, and the key is the correct answer. It's the only correct answer, and it's correct both at the entry level, the level of the practitioner, and at the expert level. You guys are the experts. We want to make sure that you know that this answer is true, but also it needs to be true for the person who's practicing, okay? So that's a real important issue. We're going to make sure the answer key is correct first, then we're going to look at the incorrect answers. And those are called distractors. Well, distractors because they distract people that don't know. People that are non-knowledgeable would be attracted to these answers. It's plausible but wrong. There are common misconceptions. It's something that a non-knowledgeable person might think sounds right. We often use me as the case. I don't know your subject matter. If it sounds plausible to me and it's wrong, that's probably a good distractor. Do you see what I mean? Well, that makes sense. I'm a non-knowledgeable person. I should get the answer wrong. The other thing we do is we make sure that the structure is parallel. Again, this is not only good item writing form, but it also protects against candidates who are really good English majors. They recognize the fact that, wait a minute, there are 3 nouns and 1 verb in there. So I know the verb, either answer is not the answer. We want to make sure that the test answer choices are of equal specificity. The common tendency for a new item writer is to make the correct answer really long because they're adding stuff to it to make sure that it's right. And then the other distractors are short. So if I'm a candidate who doesn't know, I'm going to pick the longest one. Okay, just because the probability is that's what the item writer did. We don't want it to be obviously different. All the answer choices should be similar. If they're nouns, they should all be nouns. Parts, diagnoses, whatever, they should all be the same. If it's singular, if the question is asking for a singular answer, all the answer choices should be singular. If it's asking for plural, they should be plural. Sometimes we get questions where there are 2 or 3 pieces. It's this and this. And we want to make sure that each of the answer choices have the same number of pieces in it. So just basic structure. Okay, so this is a pretty good set of distractors. They're not exactly the same length, But you notice that they have an adjective and a noun, and they're all talking about the same kind of thing. And I believe this talks to the idea of what's going on in a phantom for testing a piece of equipment. A flat interface, a round hole in a plastic block, closely spaced parallel membranes, increasingly closely spaced fine wires. So this is okay. They're not exactly the same, but they're of the same structure and format.